Let's take a vegan food scientist look into the top sources of B12. We investigate what is B12, what its role is in our body, what are the best sources throughout our diet. Let's get into it. Let's check out the top sources of B12. But first, what is B12? Well, B12 is a large molecule that we cannot make in our body, so we need to get this from our diet. Where exactly, do you say? Well, in abundance, we can find these in soil conditions. B12 is actually a microbacteria that we need in addition with other nutrients to unlock and maintain human health. B12 is commonly lacking in our diet because of our conditions to clean and sanitize our products thoroughly before we eat, washing away this B12 that we would normally be consuming. This gives us deficiencies and can cause health issues if not addressed, if you are on a plant-based diet or if you are on another diet. Alright, scientifically, the main reasons why we need B12 in our diet are as follows. For blood health, blood cell formation and maintenance, eye health in reducing macular degeneration, normal aging, including vital growth for fetuses and pregnant women, bone density and ligament maintenance, improved neurological connections, reducing depressive symptoms, aiding in memory, particularly serotonin, increasing our energy and sustaining energy throughout the day. B12 is also known to coordinate heart health and heart disease risk, and this includes reducing your circulating homocysteine. Maintaining hair, skin, and nail health is the last of the main reasons why we need B12 in our diet. Alright guys, so before we get into the top sources of B12, I want to take a scientific look, and we're going to check out what some doctors have to say. First one is Dr. McDougall and his explanation of B12. Link is below on his website. Now, what exactly B12 is in the sources, we only need 0.3 to 0.65 micrograms per day, and this has shown to help cure anemia in certain patients. Now, a safe dosage by Dr. McDougall is about 5 micrograms per day. Supplements can contain up to 5,000 micrograms per pill. So we really need to understand what is the mechanisms of B12, as this can cause the disease of the intestine and the lack of absorption. Proper absorption of B12 is essential here. Now, the scientific name is cobalamin and cyanocobalamin, and the effectiveness treats neurological problems can be questioned. So really what you're going to do is err on the side of about 5 milligrams per day is what we want to look at. And if you get that through food sources, your first bet is going to choose a bioactive form. So Dr. McDougall is getting right to the source here and saying that substances containing in food supplements, they may be ineffective because they're not bioactive or they haven't been fermented by this bacteria. Alright, but what Dr. McDougall is still saying is a whole food starch-based diet with the supplementation of B12 regularly will help you reach these goals. Now, efficiency is rare, and by this perspective is that because our daily requirements is less than 3 micrograms per day. Now, that's a small amount. Vitamin B12 is the only nutrient that requires a cofactor for essential absorption. The cells of your stomach produce this substance, which we refer to as intrinsic factor, combining with the acidic digestion of your food in your stomach, and therefore this B12 is released. Now, the intrinsic factor B12 complex goes through its normal digestive path through the small intestine and where it is absorbed. Secondly, you can have passive absorption of B12. through the intestine, where what we're doing is it's about 1/1000th of efficiency. However, taking oral doses of B12, we can try to ample up our B12. So the top sources of B12, should it come from animals or plants? And which ones are really better to eat overall? Check out my YouTube video on this animal versus plant discussion. The link is below. Also, the dangers of eating animal products related to its vitamins, such as vitamin D12, can be risky business if you're ingesting potential cancerous agents. For more information on the vitamin deficiency as the number 2 reason why you should not go vegan, check out the link below. Alright, let's get into the top sources of vitamin B12. Plant sources, as they are easiest to digest, absorb, and better for you on a chronic long-term basis. So therefore, the top sources of B12 will be plant sources. Now, in terms of how we can incorporate them into our diet, how easy they are to source, and the concentration of B12 will be analyzed. The top sources of B12 should be taken at approximately 5 micrograms per day of B12 if there is no supplement taken. Now, the first one is fermented foods or supplemented foods. I'm going to come right into fortified foods such as cereals, breakfast cereals, oats, and nutritional yeast is a personal favorite of mine. We're able to accurately assess if we can reach our B12 daily value through our daily value on our nutrition facts panel in our fortified foods section, such as nutritional yeast and cereals. Now, the next one is sea algae and seaweeds of all kinds. This is a table showing the content of various seaweeds, as we see here on the left-hand side. Now, your seaweeds vary in style and type, but basically if they have B12 on its skin, then we can eat it and ingest it successfully. Seaweeds and sea algae have known to have a positive effect. One, a microalgae, namely chlorella, which is naturally produced, can contain real B12 values and can have a positive effect on B12, even though some scientific literature say that it's an analogic source, so therefore it would have a neutral or a negative effect, would have no effect on the B12 as it is a pseudo B12. So if you're going to be choosing chlorella as it is farmed here, choose a naturally farmed, naturally produced source, as you can have it in powdered form and toss it in your smoothie for a perfect B12 punch in a pack of plant protein. I would like to mention that of the seaweeds, nori seaweed, commonly enjoyed with Japanese food, is particularly adaptable to a good B12 type. Now, B12, high in B12 if you're choosing these nori sheets, wrapped up in sushi or just snacking on it is a perfect source here, guys. Would like to shout out to tempeh, which has got a bad rap saying that there's not much B12 in it. However, as this table shows here, there is a small amount of the intrinsic factor B12 that is found in naturally sourced, naturally derived tempeh here. So we can enjoy tempeh knowing that it will contain some B12 as well as a slew of other benefits for our body. Let's check out Dr. Gregor's at nutritionfacts.org's view on B12, optimal sources, and supplementation of B12.
Though it may be easier and cheaper to just take something once a week, some people would rather get into the habit of doing something daily so they don't forget. So how much would you have to take if you wanted to take vitamin B12 once a day rather than once a week? Using the formula we just learned, 1.5 plus 0.01 times the quantity of x minus 1.5 equals 4 to 7 solve for x. All weight, once a day, 250 micrograms or more is all we need. You can put it next to your toothbrush to remind yourself, whatever it takes. The reason we can't absorb more than about 1.5 at a time directly through our receptors is that they get filled up. But it only takes them about 4 to 6 hours to unload their cargo into the body and are back in business. So if we got B12 3 times a day, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we could absorb 1.5 each time and end up with 4.5 at the end of the day, which is all we need. And these kind of doses we can get from fortified foods. The so-called daily value on nutrition facts labels for B12 is 6 micrograms. So as long as each serving provides 25% of our daily value, then we can eat a serving of B12 fortified foods at every meal, and we wouldn't have to take supplements at all. So, for example, there's vitamin B12 fortified nutritional yeast. A half teaspoon counts as a serving, so you could sprinkle that on your meals, but that'd be like $1 a week, as opposed to just a few pennies a week for B12 supplements. But whichever path you choose, and there's lots of various fortified B12 fortified foods out there, these are not just recommendations for people eating plant-based diets. They're recommendations for anyone who wants a cholesterol-free source of vitamin B12.
Thanks again to Dr. Greger, and another shout out to Dr. McDougall. All of the links for the video information is below, listed in the video. Now, thanks so much, guys, for checking out my video. If you like it, give a big thumbs up, subscribe, and share. Comment. Hope you guys have a great day, and keep it vegan, y'all.